is brought to you by Head Start Basketball.
No matter what happens ever again in basketball, no one can take this from us. I'm so glad that this is the group that gets to bond over this moment. It had truly been one of the most fun years I'd had of coaching. The wins help, obviously, but the group of guys that we have and the way our roster is built, I'm glad it was this group that did it.
Marcus Kahn is the head men's basketball coach at the University of Mary Washington, where he just led the Eagles to the 2026 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball National Championship in Indianapolis. Kahn also took the Eagles to the NCAA Tournament second round in 2023 and the Sweet 16 in 2025. Prior to Mary Washington, Kahn posted a 153-27 record in 6 seasons at Cabrini College, including 5 consecutive Colonial States Athletic Conference championships and NCAA Tournament appearances, including a run to the NCAA Championship game in 2011-2012. His mark of 131-19 over those 5 years was the best record in all of NCAA Division III. In his first stop as a head coach, Kahn spent 6 seasons at the University of Greensburg. With the Bobcats, Kahn became the program's all-time career leader in victories and claimed the conference's regular season crown in 2004-2005, which was the first in program history. Kahn also served as an assistant coach at Wesley College, Albright College, Shepherd University, and Grandview College. Are you or an athlete you know planning to go D3? Check out the D3 recruiting playbook from D3 Direct. Their playbook gives you a clear step-by-step roadmap to the recruiting process, what coaches value, key milestones from early high school through application season, and how to build a targeted list of schools that fit your needs. The playbook demystifies researching D3 programs and how to stand out without chasing every camp or showcase. The modules cover things like writing emails to coaches, building an effective highlight tape, using social media well, planning camps and visits, and navigating application strategy. You'll get templates, checklists, and an outreach plan to communicate confidently, learn how to compare financial packages, and avoid common missteps. By the end, you'll have a prioritized school list and a decision framework you can use to land your best fit opportunity. Click on the link in the show notes to get your D3 recruiting playbook from D3 Direct.
Hi, this is David Vogel, men's basketball assistant coach at Ohio Wesleyan University, and you're listening to the Hoopheads podcast.
Give with Hoops is the first platform turning basketball analytics into fundraising impact. Every stat tells a story, and now every story drives sponsorship, engagement, and team growth. Programs nationwide are transforming basketball stats into funding power. Learn to use performance data to attract sponsors, engage fans, and raise more with every play. Give with Hoops will help you raise 3 times more money for your program as their stat-based pledges consistently outperform traditional fundraisers. Visit givewithhoops.com/hoop-heads-podcast to learn more and take your fundraising to the next level. Give with Hoops. Be prepared to take some notes as you listen to this episode with Marcus Kahn, head men's basketball coach at the University of Mary Washington, the 2026 Division III Men's Basketball National Champions. Hello and welcome to the Hoopheads podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here without my co-host Jason Sunkel this afternoon, but I am pleased to welcome in Division III Men's Basketball National Championship at the University of Mary Washington, head coach Marcus Kahn. Marcus, welcome to the Hoopheads pod.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you on. Looking forward to diving into this championship season, kind of getting a behind-the-scenes look at how you guys made the run all the way to Indy and were able to win the championship. Let's start by going back to the beginning of this season and where you were at, let's say, in September with what you felt like you had in terms of this team. Did you think this was possible? Where were you at? What were you thinking about heading into the year?
Yeah, I think back, start of the season, kind of those beginning September practices, we had a high expectation based on the way last season ended. Not the overall last year, but certainly the way that we made a little run there at the end, I think gave us the confidence that we needed. We knew we returned everybody but 2 guys. And so expectations were high. And so it was good because it really helped us focus on those. We used 6 practices in September. leading up to October 15th. And, it really helped us focus on those. Okay, this is where I think we need to be. Let's kind of really, break some things down. Most of the guys that are going to play this year are going to be returners, although we had some freshmen that cracked the lineup and did some really good things for us. It helped us stay focused in those moments of those 6 practices, but also, it was something that we kind of built off of and really pushed our guys with, like, hey, we can do some good things this year, and we're going to get challenged, from game one until whenever our season goes. Like, our schedule is going to be tough, and we're going to face some good competition. So we really got to stay locked in, and these first practices matter. So it helped with a lot of that.
Putting together the schedule, how long in advance do you have the schedule put together for this year? You guys had the weekend where you lost 2 games, playing 2 tough ones against Christopher Newport and Randolph-Macon back to back. But how far in advance do you put the schedule together? And then how did that kind of dovetail with this particular team?
Yeah, I used to like to have the schedule done for the following year before October 15th. Before practices started, I wanted to have that next season schedule done. So scheduling wasn't something I had to worry about. Reality now in the Coast to Coast Conference and the way our schedule is, I still have, I was working on it this morning here at my desk, got 3 games to fill for next year. And so it is such an ongoing process now, and really, the good of it is we have just about every game is non-conference for us. And so we really can play anybody, anytime, anywhere. But you get to that, it's pretty easy to fill up November and December, but you start to hit January, certainly February, and you're begging for bye dates. And so you're hoping that the right teams will agree to play. And I think we've missed on a couple. I think we've got a couple teams to play us, which were good. All that stuff matters so much now with the NPI, and it allowed us, at least we knew our schedule coming into this year of, oh yeah, no, we've got it, ready or not, here we go. And we kind of knew that a roster was going to be the same. So it was either going to be really good and challenging, or it was going to be a tough season. So it worked out.
Easier or harder to put together the schedule after winning the national championship? When you make that call now, is it easier to get teams to consider playing you, or is it harder?
Well, we'll see. I've just started sending out some emails again. I got 3 to fill. Although I will say, going into it, I did have a team drop us that we had scheduled, and they called. At least they called. But Colin said, we're next year. I'm kind of full. I've got some other opportunities, and it is what it is. Listen, I view it as, hey, in the world of NPI now, I think everybody should want to be playing better teams, because that helps you. And the strength of schedule is such a factor in that, going on the road, taking a loss. Yeah, it's a loss, but it's going to help you in a lot of ways. And certainly if you go on the road and win, against an NPI top 100 team, like, that is such a boost that, I've kind of viewed it the opposite way, right? Like, I want to go play some teams that are going to help us in that regard. And, it helped us so much this year. I mean, part of our run was the fact that we got to host those first 2 weekends, those first 3 games here at home. Like, that was played such a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the idea, again, that you don't have to go on the road, that you can be at home in front of your home fans. Your guys don't have to travel and sleep in a strange bed and deal with all the stuff that goes along with traveling, and being able to do that initially, I'm sure was, again, a huge benefit when you looked at the run and the totality of what you guys were able to do in the NCAA tournament. Tell me a little bit about your league and just the uniqueness of that. You mentioned that it allows you to have, or it forces you to have, more non-conference games, but just talk a little bit about the league and how that schedule kind of plays into the way that this season sort of ran its course for you guys.
Yeah, so we're the coast to coast, where we were in the capital with, and had a really good, what I thought was one of the better conferences around with the capital. But a lot of the private schools and a couple state schools left, and it left us, Christopher Newport and Salisbury, kind of sitting here. And so we went and grabbed independent schools from around the country, really, to form the conference. And first year, a little bit of a hodgepodge, but hey, we were able to keep the league together, and renamed it the Coast to Coast, because we have UC Santa Santa Cruz in it, which is pretty cool. But it is, we don't have to, because of that. It's like we're not going to be able to fly back and forth all season long. And so we really play our schedules out in the regular season for the conference tournament, which is a predetermined site. So this year, again, another advantage of hosting, we had just been out, spent a week in California before the NCAA tournament because Santa Cruz hosted. So, which was neat, but next year we'll be back here on the East Coast and a little easier travel, obviously. But you have that. So then you seed based on the NPI. You seed the conference tournaments. We've been fortunate. Santa Cruz has been great conference partners. They fly out each year. I think it's the last weekend in January. They come out and play us, Salisbury and Christopher Newport. This year we went out there right before the conference tournament, returned the game, played there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it is. But and then everything in between, right? We hit January. We're asking for bye dates and Monday night games. Can you squeeze us in? Those are going to be the ones that are tough, convincing a team to play us now on a Monday night. But we got to try, man. We got to find a way. So.
Hey, you got a trip to California every year to sell to your recruits. At least that's one positive.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, how far into your schedule this year did you feel like the vision that you had for this team and like, hey, we thought we were going to be pretty good, but hey, we really are pretty good. How many games in was it before you thought, man, we got a chance to really do something special with this group?
Yeah, for me, it really, I thought that second or third weekend, we went to the Great Lakes Invitational out in Washington, PA, and played Trine and Carthage, two really good nationally known programs, and beat both of them and played well against both. I thought both would expose us, and they did for some weaknesses. And but I thought the way our guys responded in both games was great. And coming out of that 2-0, I thought, okay, well, hey, we're hanging with some of the big boys now, and I think let's obviously again keep getting better, but I think we're heading on the right path. Then we go and where I knew we could make a pretty good run was coming off of those two losses. You learn a lot in that time. And first of all, I say this all the time, but very few teams go into Christopher Newport or go into Randolph-Macon and win. And so they weren't bad losses. A lot of people say, oh my God, lost 2 in a row. What are you going to do? It's like, hey, that's poor scheduling on my part, putting those 2 games in the same week. But hey, that was a challenge I thought that we needed, because we come out of that week and our next game was Christopher Newport again, just at home. And so we had a week to kind of figure it out, challenge the guys to, this can go one of 2 ways, man. We can bounce back and keep rolling, or do the wheels fall off? And it's really up to us to decide that. And the way we responded when we played Christopher Newport here at home, I thought it was one of our more well-played games of the whole season. After that one, I thought, okay, yeah, we're interested in getting back to winning again. Winning matters to this group, and we're not resting on anything. And we have bigger picture in mind and bigger things planned for ourselves than the regular season. And so I felt good coming out of that, getting that win against Newport.
It's always good to be in a position where you can use a tough or multiple tough regular season games to steel your team for a potential playoff run, right? Where your team is good enough that, hey, we can afford to play some really good opponents where there's a chance that we might lose in the regular season on the other team's home floor, and know that it's a learning experience for your team. So when you looked at your team over the course of the season and you started to project, hey, what could we do in the tournament? And I know you're looking at one game at a time and all those things, but you guys clearly had some aspirations of what you thought you could do. What did you see as being a weakness that potentially could have held your team back from accomplishing what you were ultimately able to accomplish?
Yeah, I thought we needed to be more consistent rebounding. I thought rebounding was even in that championship game, we got killed on the glass. But we found ways to overcome that. And I thought that's what was great about our team. But our weakness was rebounding. I've said for the last couple of years, I think we are one of the better, first shot defense. Our first shot defense is pretty good. We're one of the better teams I think in the country, numbers wise. dictating where the shot comes from and contesting it and making it difficult. But we got to rebound the ball better. We gave up too many second chance points throughout the year, and certainly in the tournament, letting some teams hang around based on that. And so I thought that was, and that we at times became a little too one-dimensional offensively. We have a number of guys that could score in a number of different ways, but we were led by Kai Robinson, and you look out there a couple nights when things were getting a little stale, and it was because we get the ball to Kai and stand and watch. And so it was really a lot of drilling things in practice where, hey, Kai can't score, or we got to do this, or, everybody's got to stay involved with it and not just relying on one guy. Certainly, again, with the teams we were playing. And I think that, to Randolph-Macon's credit, like that was Kai's only single digit scoring game. And so, they did really, and that showed, like we struggled. And, but after that, it was like, hey, everybody's got a role in this. And so he became much better at assisting. I thought in the NCAA tournament, that Elite Eight game where he didn't score as well as maybe he would have wanted to, against Chicago, but he was assisting and, finding guys, or that hockey assist, right? That, creating the play was really good at that. So
That's always a challenge, right? When you have a great player that is going to carry you on a lot of nights and is going to do so much and have the ball in his hands as much as Kai had the ball in his hands. And other guys, like you said, have a tendency to just watch and not do the things that they need to do. And it's a balance, right? Because obviously you want the ball in your best player's hands. You want him doing things with it. But at the same time, there's going to be times where he's going to draw two defenders and kick, and somebody's got to be able to make a shot, or somebody's got to be able to play off the things that he's doing. And that's a tricky balance to get to over the course of a season with a team, is figuring out how do we make sure that he's doing what we need him to do and getting his, and yet at the same time, it doesn't become four guys standing around just watching and waiting for him to carry everything. And that's, again, I'm sure was a challenge for you throughout the season. What were the conversations like with your players throughout the year when you're talking to them? What are you talking with them about? What are they expressing to you? Where are they mentally? You talked about kind of your own expectations, but with your conversations with the players, what were their expectations? What were you talking to them about as the season went on?
Yeah, I think their expectations exceeded mine, if I'm being honest. All my conversations with our team really through the years, I think we all had that kind of common goal of, all right, we got to the Sweet 16 last year. We've kind of figured we've got to break through that. And really in my mind, if I'm being honest, that was where I was kind of at with this group. Like, okay, I think we can get through that to that second weekend again and, win a game. Can we get to the 8? I thought throughout the year, we proved to be probably one of the best 8 teams, certainly top 10 teams in the country. And, but our guys talked about, I came to find this out way late in the year, but their little group chat, the team group chat without the coaches involved with it, they had named it 2026 Natty Champs. And so when I found out, I think, oh, that's cool. Hey, that's a lot to live up to, man. And, that means we got to, if that's what we're doing, then we really got to hone in on a few things a little bit better. And so it kind of, again, I think having that conversation and talking, if that's what we want to do, then here are the little things that we've really got to get better at and that really need to happen. And, I said to them before every game, and it really didn't matter who we played or where we played them, that I felt if we go out and we throw our best punch tonight and we play at our best, we can play with anybody. And we can take the other team's best punch and keep rolling. I think that was proven against Emory. I thought we proved that against Trinity, certainly. Christopher Newport, times we played them, that if we go out and we play our best game, that we can be the best team on the court that night. And, so those were the conversations and about what it takes to get to that point.
It's good that they were confident, right? You want a team that believes in themselves. There's something to be said for that if they believe, it's a lot easier when they believe it than you having to instill that belief in them. Maybe sometimes you had to tamp them down a little bit, maybe.
You don't have to worry. I have come to find that the mind of an 18 to 20-year-old guy, you don't need to do much to build their confidence. It's a pretty confident group that, that 18-year-old male brain, man, they think they can do everything. And so, that benefited us this year. That really did.
Absolutely. That lack of fear and the confidence of just going in and, hey, we're better than these guys. I'm better than this guy. I can completely understand exactly where they're coming from on that particular mindset. As you get to the end of the season and you go through the conference tournament, as you said, you're out in California. How confident were you that you were going to have the opportunity to host those early rounds of the NCAA tournament? You mentioned how important that was to the run, but how confident were you that that was going to happen?
I was really confident going into the conference tournament that we would get that first weekend. I knew we had to be top 16 in the NPI, and we were well above that. But then you start thinking, okay, if we get tripped up in this part of the conference tournament, if we don't make it to the finals, if we make it to the finals and lose, where do we stay in that top 16? I was pretty confident we had locked it in for the first weekend. And then, yeah, it was like, oh shoot, we come out of the conference championship game, and it's my assistant is great. Mark is terrific, and he pays way more attention to the MPI stuff than I do. And I should probably pay more attention to it, but he's always feeding me the numbers on where we are. And it's like, before every game, this is where we're at. After the game, this is where we're at. And we came out of the conference championship game. He's like, we're number 4. And it's like, oh, like overall, yeah, we're hosting all the way through, man. Like, so in that moment, obviously I was like, okay, I think we've got a pretty good shot here then to get to Fort Wayne.
What was the atmosphere like on the campus? How excited was the campus in general, or the crowds like for those games for you?
Yeah, they were tremendous. That game against Wisconsin lacrosse in the Sweet 16 here was the most crowded this gym has ever been, and it was standing room only. And the crowd kept building. We came out for the start of the game, and it was full packed. And then you're coaching the games, so you're not really paying attention to it, but I knew it was loud. But then we came out at half, and there were people standing. I want to say it was the rugby team or somebody had come in during, maybe at the end of the first half, and we're standing over the railings up top. And it was just, it was loud, and it was awesome. And, as the year went on, more wins we got. We've had good student support. Our student section's always been good. I think we get a lot of support from other student athletes and teams here on campus. But as the season went on, I started noticing people we've never seen before coming to our games. And so the Fredericksburg community started showing up, getting excited about what we were doing. Certainly come back from Santa Cruz, and we're announcing that we're hosting that first weekend and getting a lot of people coming out just from the city of Fredericksburg to come check us out. And again, that was the Friday night game against Worcester State was pretty full, but then that next night against Amherst was really full. And then we come back, and then that was even spring break. And so we were off of spring break for that Sweet 16 game, which made it, again, just standing room only, which was awesome.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to play and coach in an environment like that where the stands are packed and there's an energy to the games. I mean, again, it's just one of those things that, not that it's not fun and exciting, no matter what the crowds look like, but when you have a packed house, it just adds a little bit of something special to the experience. So you guys win your 3 home games in the tournament, and then you head to Fort Wayne. You get the game against UChicago. Talk a little about that game and just the experience in Fort Wayne. Obviously, the Fort Wayne experience was different this year because normally it would be the Final Four and the championship game in Fort Wayne. And we'll talk about the break and how you handled that here in a second. But just tell me a little bit about the experience in Fort Wayne in the Elite Eight and then the semis.
Yeah, that was it was awesome. I mean, we get the win Saturday night, and it's like, all right, hey, we're off to Fort Wayne, man. Like we're in the big show here. And again, that was part of our conversation. Like, let's get to Fort Wayne and see what happens. And then as the brackets go, it's like, oh, we've got Chicago. Like, forget about who we would potentially have next. Chicago's been in the top 5 all year long, pretty much. And we're going to have our hands full, and they play a different style than what we play. And, so, we took the 2 days we had before we traveled out there really and focused on beating them. What we needed to do, kind of game planning for that one game, which has kind of been my philosophy throughout my career, is just play the game in front of you and then figure it out for the next one. And so Mark and I really honed in on Chicago. I thought we came up with a pretty good game plan. We came out and shot the ball really well in the first half against them there. First of all, what a great experience of playing in Fort Wayne. I'd heard about it. I've never been to the Coliseum there. And it was first-class treatment all the way around, which was neat. And one of my favorite things about the profession is getting to meet other coaches and other guys in the business. And so they had 4 teams in 2 different hotels. And so in our hotel was kind of our side of the bracket there, which was really neat. And so Coach McGrath from Chicago and I got to catch up in the lobby and just talk a little bit. And I really enjoy that part of the profession. So anyway, it was a great experience coming into it. And then the Chicago game, we started off the first half just shooting the ball really well. And Jade Randall had a really good game for us. Jaden Burns shot the ball really well. Again, 2 guys that we rely a lot on, but aren't typically our leading scorer, but on different nights can be. And they both took off at the beginning of that game for us. And then Chicago made a run to start the second half, and we called a timeout and just kind of talked about refocusing. Like we just gotta, they're not going to go away, right? We're all fighting for our season now. And so we answered back on a run of our own. And what really was good about that game from a coaching standpoint was every time they made a run, we had the shot to answer it. And they might have, they cut it to 6. I think we had it at 14 and a half, maybe something like that. Maybe not quite 14, but it was up there. And they'd cut it down to 6 and we'd hit a 3. They'd get it back down to 6 and we'd get a bucket. And so, it was just an all around good game for us. And then congratulations, you beat Chicago. Now you got the return, the reigning champ, number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, you guys, there's no way you didn't have to worry about people saying that you had a Little Sisters of the Poor route to the NCAA Championship. You had no worry about that with the gauntlet that you guys had to go through.
Yeah, no, we faced the best. Like there was no somebody took care of business for you on the other side of the bracket. It was, we played the top team, and so which I like. I think that's again, I love that part about this. About the tournament is playing good teams, a neutral floor and a cool environment. And we had 48 hours to get ready for Trinity. And really that first game against Chicago, the funny part was there was an issue with the clock on the game 1. And so it pushed, we were the last game scheduled, I want to say for 8:30 or 9, maybe it's scheduled for 9 o'clock tip. We tipped off at like 9:45. And so, and then, you win, so you're excited. You don't think much about it. And then, but then realize like, okay, we finally got the team fed. Let's watch a little film. It's like, oh, wait, it's 2:30 in the morning. Watch a little film. So we were pretty gassed that next day, which was really benefited us to have that off day in between. And so we really focused more on rest. Kind of focused on us a little bit, talked Trinity, watched some film, did all of that. But our practice that day was pretty light. And then, I thought we started off okay. They had a little momentum change there in the first half. And they're a really good team, really well coached, obviously. For me, it was, if we just they got up 14 or 16. And I thought if we can just get this thing to get it manageable at half, get it down to 10, 9, something like that. Going into the half will be okay. And we ended the half on a 5-0 run. And I get it right to 9. We came out, and then it was, toe to toe the rest of the way. And battled and it took a lead, and then they got the lead back. And, so it was a little nip and tuck there right up until right at the end. We were able to, Caden Bates, again, a role player for us, he's kind of the head of our defensive snake, if you will, that we put him on their teams. That's his primary role for us is, hey, you're going to defend and rebound. And any points we get from you tonight will be bonus. And he had struggled a little bit offensively. He had some good looks, but had missed. And he had a wide open look in the corner from 3. Missed it. And we're coming out of the last media, or maybe the last time out of the game. I just said to him, like, dude, you're going to continue to be open. Like, they're not paying attention to you. And so you're going to make that next one. And he said it too. He's like, I got it. Like, yep, they're not guarding me in the corner. And Kai found him. We were and nailed it. And so it was huge. We were down 2, and he hit the 3 from the corner and put us up 1 with under a minute. And we went back and got the stop that we needed to get. And just what a wonderful just culmination of a great weekend for our guys, and just the confidence boost of winning that game when I think a lot of people maybe weren't really giving us a chance in that, and probably for good reason, right? But I think it speaks to, again, the confidence we talked about of our group and the belief in each other that they had, and that we're just let's put our nose in there and go to work, man, and see what happens. And we did, and came out on top.
So you go from having barely one day between games and trying to figure out how you're going to prepare for Trinity. Now suddenly you disrupt completely the rhythm of every season probably any of you have ever had, and you've got to wait almost 2 weeks before you play the championship game. So how, in a situation where there's probably not really even anybody that you could call and say, hey, how did you handle this? Because there's really it never happens. So how did you approach that from a mental standpoint, from how you wanted to design your practices? How did you guys handle that collectively as a group, that long layoff between winning that semifinal game against Trinity to getting to Indy and playing Emory in the championship game?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, we needed rest. That was a big weekend for us, and the travel and the travel back with delayed flights, of course, right? Nothing's going to go smoothly on the flight home from that. So it was a late getting home that Sunday. So we took Monday. Obviously, Sunday was we didn't do anything other than travel. Monday we took completely off. Tuesday we did more of a shoot around. Let's just kind of gauge where we're at and see what our guys need. And we did the same thing Wednesday, or kind of did more of a practice, but short one. And then took Thursday off. And so and then we started watching a little bit of film, like, all right, let's at least get our guys' minds right. And so I think we showed them 10 clips of Emory's zone. Like, hey, this is going to be key. If we're going to beat them next weekend, this is key. So 10 clips. And then the next day it was the same thing of them in their transition offense, which they really rely on. And just some main points of just a couple clips, get their minds right. Hey, we're going to be doing transition D in practice. Here's why. And this is why it's so important. But yeah, I mean, keeping them focused certainly until once we turn the page into that game week and we can start saying, hey, this is game week. Even that was, I mean, I can't remember what it was, but typing up the practice plan, I was like, yeah, practice 97. Like, these guys are like, yeah, man, coming back from California, practice was pulling teeth. And then you got an extra week in there. It was tough. And then now we needed a lot of that time because I don't want to say distraction, the good distraction but we come back and there's so much attention on campus, and now everybody wants to be involved with what we're doing. And so, certainly I was getting pulled in a lot of different directions during that first week, which was, again, all good. I love things like this, talking about our program and our season and promoting our guys, and they deserve it. So I want to get out and do it. But that extra time was needed for that. Like, if we had just 1 week to get to Emory, it would have been, some tough decisions making that, hey, we're not doing any media stuff, or listen, guys, I got to get this done. And so it was needed, but it was a long layoff. And then it was just a matter of, all right, get us to the game, get us to Indy, which was just an incredible experience. I mean, for the student athletes involved, Division II, Division III, I mean, I don't know how you beat it, honestly. Like, they treated us like the Division I guys. And we kind of knew going in, they said that, like, hey, bring an extra duffel bag. You guys are going to get so much swag. You're going to need to fill up a bag going home. We're thinking, all right, getting back on these flights and going out there. They chartered us a flight to go to Indianapolis. Which, again, for our guy, that's something we've never done. So it was an awesome experience. Have the police escort the bus from the airport to the hotel. We disappointed a lot of people in downtown Indianapolis when Mary Washington got off the bus and it wasn't UConn or or Michigan. Yeah, we get off the bus and are welcomed by the city of Indianapolis they've got the race car out front of the hotel, decked out in Final Four colors. And they gifted us, all the head coaches, a helmet with our logo on it. It's a racing helmet, all the colors of the Final Four and the logos, and then our Eagle logo on the front of it. Things like that, the little things like that. It was what an amazing experience to the guys walk into their hotel, and my wife and I were kind of finished the last after checking in, get off the elevator last, and the guys were flying out of the rooms like, "Have you been into your room yet?" I said, "No, I'm getting there." All right, I'm not going to spoil it for you, Coach, but you go in there and let me know after you walk in your room. And so, yeah, they had stuff laid out on the beds for the guys, which, again, the little things like that just make our guys feel so special. To the practices in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, to you name it, the Fan Fest on Thursday night, kind of before it is open to the public, they let the teams go in there. And so the experience of that, I mean, most of our guys, I don't know if any of them ever even been to a Final Four. And so to do that and then play there, for me, somebody asked me the question that week, how is it different from just going to the Final Four and the coaches convention to having to work now, essentially?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, well, today I'm going to go watch film at lunch. If this would have been last year, I would have been going to a bar with my buddies and hanging out. So a different trip, but man, the city of Indianapolis, the NCAA, that experience they gave our guys, we got to go to the semifinals and we stayed after and went to the finals game on Monday night. I mean, again, outside of our game, the experience, just that experience alone was something our guys will never forget. It just was awesome.
Yeah, I think that the fact that you guys were able to take advantage of the experience in total, right? Obviously going there and it's a quote unquote business trip, right? You're there to try to win that game and win the championship, which ultimately you were able to do, but to also be able to give your kids an experience that, like you said, maybe none of them have ever had. And certainly they've never had it maybe they got to show up at a Final Four city and participate, whatever, but they're certainly not getting the type of treatment and the experience that you guys got as a team collectively through that. So to not only be able to participate, as you said, in the game itself, but also to be able to just take part in what the Final Four is all about, from the fans to all the coaches, the events, just the energy that's there in the city, everything that goes along with the Final Four as an event that your guys got the chance to take part in, that I think was just, again, sort of a crowning achievement, not only just to win the championship, but just to be there and be a part of it. Do you think, I haven't heard anything, I haven't really talked to anybody, is there any thought of continuing that setup moving forward? Was that discussed at all? What have you heard on that?
I've heard not on a yearly basis, but I think there's going to be every so many years try to do it, right? I think the next time they'd probably do the women's side again. This was the second time it's been done for the men. The last time was in Atlanta, 2013, I think, 2013 or 14 in Atlanta. Then they've done the women's game the same way. And I think that I would imagine they would be next at some point along the way, but I hope that they do, because I think the experience, and I hope we're a part of it every time they do it, but the more Division III basketball players that get to go have that experience, the better. And certainly in that city where the fans came out, like, we joked all the time when we were getting off the bus, like little kids would stop, we'd pull up. They were probably thinking UConn's getting out of the bus, but it's us. But they cared. Like it was still for the fans. They were still good to us. I mean, they showed up to our game. There was a lot of 6,000 maybe in there, I think they'd said. Now the NIT was after us, but it wasn't full of NIT yet. It was just fans, basketball fans from Indiana that wanted to come check out a good game. And it was really neat. It was a great experience.
Best game of the weekend as far as competitiveness and coming down to the wire and obviously the ending. So let's jump into the game. For me, being there and watching the game, the moment that stood out for me, back and forth in the first half, right? Both teams started out pretty cold, couldn't really get much going on offense. You get to halftime, it's a close game. It was 43-35, Emory, with 15, 16 minutes to go there in the second half, and they had just hit 2 threes. And I think maybe they even had the ball at that point with a chance to go up 10. And it felt like, sitting there watching it, I was like, it looks like Emory's about to kind of pull away. It just looked like the momentum was going in their favor. It seemed like they were getting easier scores. They were able to do some things with what you guys were trying to do, and I just felt like, it's gonna kind of get away from them. And then all of a sudden, boom, Kai went, and I think he scored your next 7, and then got you back right to even, and then it just completely flipped the other way, and then you guys ended up going up, I think, 13 or so with 5-6 minutes to go, and then you end up having to hang on. But tell me about that moment when you got down 8 and where your mindset was, and what you try to get your guys to think about in that time frame.
Yeah, it's for sure. It was. I thought they got a couple good possessions, and I thought we had some good ones that just missed. Our team this year had to. They always did better after they got to see it for a little bit, or as I always say, feel it. They had to feel that zone. I mean, we can try to work on it, and we can scout it, and we can show them what's coming on film, and but they had to feel that. So I wasn't too concerned at half. Like, okay, we passed up a lot of really good looks that we said were going to be there, so it was a little frustrating in that way. But again, our team was a team. They just had to feel it and learn it on their own. And so the fact that we were only down a bucket at half, I thought we were in good shape. Then they make a couple threes, which they're a team of runs, but I knew there'd be enough possessions, as many runs as they went on in the tournament. We also, on film, watched other teams fight right back into it. And so that was just kind of our message to them. Hey, one possession at a time, man. Just hit singles. Just keep hitting singles and we'll be good. And I think Kai hit a big 3. Caden Bates hit a big 3. And then it was a little moment. Josh Silverdor, our freshman off the bench, hits a 3 from the corner. And it really, that just kind of lifted our guys. And now we're on a run of our own. To their credit, they was everything we said at the timeout. It's like, they're not going to go away. We're going to have to win this game. The clock's not just going to run out. And, Ethan Faust hit some big threes. And then, Ben Pierce gets his one of the game, of course, in that moment where we're trying to, and a tough one too, where he was guard. I thought we did a great job defending him and, hit that tough one. And so, we were in a dogfight there in that last, under 4, certainly.
Did you have a timeout left on the last play? I couldn't remember when I was watching the game.
No, we didn't. We didn't. We had used it 2 possessions before, I think, when they were pressing us. We kind of got it over half and called timeout real quick. Again, I thought that was a big possession for us. If we could score here, it's going to keep that lead for us, and that's going to be the most important thing. But I think even had we had one, I don't think we would have called it. Usually the trigger for me would have been time. And so I look up and there was 10 seconds, and now who has the ball, right? And we were outletting it to Kai in transition with open floor. So I think knowing that, I wouldn't have called it anyway. We had the ball in the guy's hands. We wanted it. We had them in transition. They were scrambling back, and usually good things happen for us in those moments. And, certainly as he's dribbling it and he got to his spot where I thought, oh, this is going to be good. I thought he was going to take his first step back and maybe get it blocked by Faust, but then got by him to the short corner where he's been so good in the mid range. And, I thought, oh, I think this is it. And then he slipped, or his knee buckled,
buckled, whatever happened. It was so weird watching it, because I was in the corner opposite him. So I'm looking basically kind of like straight on at him. And as he went up, I'm like, oh, he's got you couldn't ask for a better shot. And then as he goes to lift, like you said, I couldn't tell, did he slip? Did his knee kind of buckle? What happened?
Yeah.
And obviously the ending happens. And it's one of those plays where you see it all the time, right? In basketball, that everybody thinks it's the last shot. And there's 8 players on the court that are just kind of, everybody's watching the flight of the ball, and lucky for you.
Lucky. Yeah. I mean, Colin Mitchell, the ultimate role player for us, right? That just does all the little things. And it's funny, like he said afterward, he said, no, it was what you had said, because we had talked a lot about it, that in their zone, they'll give up some offensive rebounds. So I think we can steal possessions throughout the game. So let's just keep crashing the glass. And he was like, you said we can get offensive rebounds. So, well, certainly in that moment, I expect everybody to come flying in. But yeah, we were fortunate that they had 2 guys just kind of track the ball and kept sprinting to the rim. And probably wisely, they chose blocking out Jay Randall. And Colin was there. And, I didn't realize this until they said it after the game in the press conference, but that was only his 10th 2-pointer of the year. Like he's a spot up catch and shoot guy for us. And so the fact that he'd only had 9 2-pointers before that is pretty neat. That's cool.
Pretty good. Pretty good. And you don't expect that shot to not hit anything either, right? As you're going up, nobody expects it to completely clear the rim and end up being, in essence, an alley-oop. But again, it's right place, right time. One guy with the awareness to kind of be in the spot that the ball happens to go, and man, that thing goes in and obviously touches off a wild celebration for you. And just what's your reaction? I mean, do you remember when the shot went in? What's the first thing you do? Who do you look at? Or is it just complete pandemonium in your mind?
No, it was, I see the ball air ball go over the other side of the rim. And I thought, okay, overtime. Oh, and then getting, Collins there, putting it back. So then it was, it went in. It kind of a shock, like, and the clock. So my first look was for an official to count it or give us something. And I thought certainly that it had gone in before in time. And then seeing our guys in a dog pile on the opposite end of the arena, I was really hoping that it had counted. And then my concern, the longer they were at the monitor, became, are they putting time back on? And again, for that same reason, like, we're going to have to get out of a dog pile, get our minds right, and hope to God we can defend them for a point, however many seconds they were going to put on there. But fortunately we have to worry about that. And it was an excitement of, we did it, but a super shock. Like I think it really took me till later that night to ultimately go, oh my God, like it went in and it counted and we won, right? There's no one's going to come take this from us now, are they?
There you go. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's one of those things that most teams, right, you experience that the other way, because most teams end their season with a loss, right? And I'm sure that you've experienced this where you play a game that you felt like you could have won, or you lost a buzzer beater or whatever it may be. And you look at that and you're like, it's over. We don't get it. We don't get it back. We can't go as much as we want to replay that or get another opportunity. Like, it's gone. And to be on the winning side of that, where, like you just said, nobody can take this away from us. We always have this. That's a pretty good feeling. Pretty special.
Yeah. Oh, it is. And I'm so obviously on the side that I wanted to be on in that. Having been in this business long enough, I've experienced the other end of that. In that game where we figured we had it won in 2012, a different school, and Whitewater came back and beat us at the end. Not on a tip, and we missed a shot to tie it at the end, but I've been there, and I as excited as I was for our guys. Jason Zimmerman is a wonderful person, first of all, and a very good coach, great team, good players. And that was just a good college game that you, at the end, obviously you want to be the winner, but you feel bad for whoever doesn't win that game, because it's just a hard fought. It's what a championship game should be. And to Yeah, I mean, it is. I love to be a part of those games. Would I've loved to held on to that 13-point lead? Of course. Of course. But nobody would remember the game the way that we're going to remember it now forever.
For sure.
If it went down that way. So, yeah, it worked out the way I guess it was supposed to.
What'd you say to your guys in the locker room after the game? What was the speech? What'd you guys talk about?
Just that. Just honestly, it was just that. Like, hey, no matter what happens ever again in basketball, or no one can take this from us. Like this group. Like, I'm so glad that this is the group that gets to bond over this moment. It truly been one of the most fun years I'd had of coaching. And the wins help, obviously, but the group of guys that we have and the way our roster is built, I'm glad it was this group that did it. I've got guys. I mean, I love every guy that's played here with us and previous teams that I've coached, but this group made it fun because they knew when to keep the mood light, but they also knew when we needed to get after it. And they were able to find that balance and make it work. We were a loose group all year. But again, just telling them how proud I was. Again, it's taken me a long time to get to that point and cut that net down. And I know there are guys that have been in the business longer than me, probably better coaches than me, that have never even had the opportunity. So I don't take that for granted. But I'm just thankful to be a part of this group, and no one's going to take this from us ever. And I hope that those guys remember that. I hope they remember all the experience of the weekend, but then remember this moment in the locker room, and us together.
Yeah, I think that part of it, right? The relationships of what you build. It's what's special about sports in general. I think when you talk about just the intensity of what a college basketball season is all about, the length of it, the amount of time that you spend together in the locker room, on the bus, at games, all the different things that go into that is special, even in seasons that don't end with a national championship. And then to have the national championship kind of as the icing on the cake makes that group, again, I know that they're gonna remember that. You're obviously gonna remember it for the rest of your career and the rest of your life, and so will they. And so I'll just kind of wrap up this championship season part of the pod by saying again, congratulations to you and all your guys. It was a lot of fun to be able to see that championship game in person, to watch it back and forth. Great game between two really good teams. And again, congratulations to you. And again, it'll be now you get to set your mind on trying to repeat here going forward. But we'll leave that for another day. So
Yeah.
Let's go and talk a little bit about your own story and kind of how you got here, and take me back to when you're a kid and how you first get into the game of basketball. What do you remember about some of your earliest memories of the game?
Yeah, I think I just kind of, it was the sport I loved to play the most. And then I grew up in the Central Valley of California, small town of Hanford, little agricultural community, just south of Fresno. And so Fresno State was my team. And I can remember my dad, even my grandfather taking my older brother and I to all the Fresno State games and going in when they played at Selland Arena, and go in there and making sure we told our dad every time, hey, we got to get here early to go to the human tunnel, where like the crowd would line up and the team would take the floor running through the tunnel of people. And that just made me fall in love with basketball. And man, my dream as a kid was, gosh, probably still is, playing basketball at Fresno State. I just, never that obviously was not something that was going to happen for me, but that was my love. And that's what I thought, man, that's my number one goal is to do that. Reality sets in for all of us, right? And that wasn't in the cards, but that was really my first, like, this is what I want. I love basketball. And it was fun. And what got me into coaching, I came home one summer from school and worked some summer camps, and just the old high school one from my old high school coach. And that was it. Like, yep, this is what I want to do. Just work in a kids camp from 9 to noon, but the teaching of it, I loved. It was a way for me to, I knew, okay, when I am done with college, like I can still stay competitive in it in this way. And so I really hit the camp circuit in the summers, certainly my last 2 summers of school, working camps and getting to know people and doing that. But it was that where, okay, I'm going to go back now. I changed my major. I liked history classes better anyway. And so I thought, well, I'll be a history teacher and coach high school basketball, move back to Hanford and see if I can coach there. And fortunately, the guy that was our graduate assistant, Doug Wagamaster, Coach Wags, had just got his first head coaching job at Grandview College in Des Moines, Iowa, NAIA high school right there in Des Moines, and had called my house one morning. It was early. I mean, 6 or 7 in the morning. And it said, I think it was a Thursday or a Friday morning, and said, hey, if you can get to Des Moines, if you can get here by Monday, I need an assistant. If you can get here by Monday, the job is yours. And so it was, whoa, okay, hold on here. I need to, hey, Dad, can I borrow the car for a minute? No, but so I packed up, not a lot then, just having graduated school, but what I had, threw all my clothes in the back of a car and drove to Des Moines and spent that year. It's so funny how little, and I knew I didn't know anything, but now looking back on now how it was even worse than I had thought in the moment. But I'm so thankful for that opportunity. Coach Wags is still somebody that I just have all the respect in the world for. And he's one of my favorite people. He gave me my start in the business, but even as a friend who's helped me along the way. You're working those jobs for peanuts. And I was talking to somebody the other day asking me what I did. I would get up at 4 a.m. and go to I worked at a Brugger's Bagels down the road and got up 4 a.m, go down there, make bagels at the Brugger Bagel shop, and then go get into the office and work. And, from there, what brought me east, I then, at the end of our year together there, I got the graduate assistant job at Wesley College in Delaware. So I moved there for 2 years. And got my master's in education, hoping that, oh, wow, I could make this college thing work out, right? I'm going to need my master's. If not, at least I have a master's if I go back and have to teach it in high school, which would have been fine. But at the end of my time, again, it's all about the relationships, right? I met Coach Kraft, Doug Kraft at the time, was the head coach at Marywood. He and I got to know each other. We were in the same conference, and I bumped into him at a Final Four in the lobby of a hotel and just said, hey, Coach, if you know anybody hiring, I'm graduating, in a month, and I need a job. And he said, wait right here. I got to introduce you to the guy that I'm with. And he brought Coach Tyler over to me, and we met. He was the head coach at Albright in Reading, Pennsylvania at the time. And so that led to an interview with him and then a job on his staff there at Albright. He got the job at Shepherd University in West Virginia and took me with him. And so that was really my first full-time job. And I thought I was living the high life there. But,
sure.
But what a great, what an awesome time that was. And I learned so much. I mean, each spot that I've been has taught me so much, but that jump from, Albright now, the Division II world at Shepherd, was really good. And then at the end of that year, I got my first head coaching job at Pitt Greensburg. And looking back on it again, it's one of those where at the time I'm interviewing because I know I want it and I know I can do it. This many years later, it's like I had no clue what I was doing. It was probably happened too soon. But it was learning on the go for sure. There was so much that I didn't know. And I certainly would have been better had I been an assistant a little bit longer. But the opportunity was there and I took it. And spent 6 years at Pitt Greensburg and left there and went to Cabrini College outside of Philadelphia. It was there for 6 years. Had some really good teams, some tournament runs during my time at Cabrini. And then full circle, Coach Tyler ended up being the athletic director here at Mary Washington. And he said, hey, my job came open, would you be interested? And so, out of respect for him, and I again, somebody that I came up under, that I came down, visited the campus, saw everything, had on my interview and all that, and it worked out. And 12 years later, here we are. So it has been it has been a long road, but really everybody's is, I think, in this profession. And if you're going to do it right, certainly it's so competitive that you've got to be willing to make any move at any time. And, again, that's part of my reason I'm so thankful that my first job was with Coach Wags, because he taught me a lot of that stuff of, hey, man, you're going to take this job. If you want to stay in this business, you can't care where you move. Like, you probably will never get back to California. You're going to become, wherever this job takes you. If you want to survive in this business, then it's any job, anytime, anywhere. And you got to be ready to move. And so I was, but obviously along the way, met my wife. So, she's made 2 moves with me, but, again, the city of Fredericksburg has been great to us. UMW has been good to us. And so, yeah, here we are.
You are. So your story hits on, I would say, 2 key themes that I've talked to so many different coaches about, Marcus. And that is, one, being willing to move anywhere in the country at the drop of a hat, right? As a young coach, like you said, you kind of have to, if you want to be in the business and an opportunity presents itself, you got to be ready to go. That's number 1. And then number 2, you talked about, you're making nothing when you start out. In some cases, you literally are making nothing. In other cases, you're making very much next to nothing, where you have to work at Brugger's Bagels and, and there you are. And so those are 2 lessons that, as I think about the things that I've learned, or the things that I hope come across from the podcast with all the conversations that we have with coaches, those are the 2 things that really stand out to me for somebody who's getting started in their career. Is you got to be willing to go wherever it is that the jobs are, and you got to be willing to work for nothing or next to nothing. And then you talked a little bit too about the work in camp, right? Which is another thing that avenue still exists. It doesn't exist quite in the same way that it used to, in terms of just the number of camps that are out there. There aren't as many as there used to be, and that kind of thing. But certainly your story of kind of how you've progressed through your career rings true with what a lot of guys have experienced in the profession to get where you are. I always say it's the glamour of college basketball, right? That everybody sees, everybody thinks about how glamorous it is to be a college basketball coach, until they hear the story of the first 15 years of guys' careers, of like where they were living and what they were eating and who was giving them money just so they could get a hamburger at night, and all those kinds of things that I'm sure that you were able to experience. So let me ask you this, kind of in the totality of your career, when you think about yourself as a coach, what are 1 or 2 things about you, just personal characteristics, that you feel like have enabled you to have the success that you've had? Forget about X's and O's and that kind of stuff, but just on a personal level, what do you think you've done well? What are the characteristics that have allowed you to have the success that you've had?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I hope, I think at least the guys that have worked with me and players that have played would say that it's kind of, the lesson that my dad would have taught me growing up. That's kind of what I said. I think I said this at the beginning of it about our team this year was, yeah, hey, get your nose in there and go to work, man. Like, put your head down, work hard. Don't worry about anything else. If this is what you want, right, you're going to have to earn it. And I've always just believed that if you put your head down, you're a good guy, you work hard, right, things will work out for you. But if you start pulling yourself in too many directions, or looking for the easy way, that in this business, there's no such thing. And at least I don't think those guys last. Certainly not me. That certainly was not my story. If at any time I would have wanted to find a shortcut in my story, there wouldn't have been one, right? The GA of Wesley. Well, maybe it's time I just go back home to California and find. Well, no, Albright. I'd never really heard of Albright College. Certainly never heard of Shepherd before I went there. But hey, if I'm going to make this work, this is what I need to do. And you know what? One more summer of working camps and some other odd jobs at this point, right? I got to make it. I got to make it work. To where I think that's something that I try to instill in guys that have come to me and asked, hey, I want to get into coaching. Do you know of anybody hiring? And it's like, yeah, I got a buddy out in California. He's got, well, I was hoping to kind of stay close. Well, then you don't want to get into the business, man. Like it's got to be so I think that it's just, you got to be persistent in it. I think that, certainly when it comes to work here, that we're going to set a goal and a standard and we're going to follow it. And I think that I've done that in my career. This kind of got me to this point. And I think self-awareness also. I'm not the smartest coach. I'm not going to out X and O a lot of guys. It's just, and I'm okay saying that, but I think what we're good at. And, so let's focus on that and work all the time to get better at the other stuff. But, I think again, I've learned so much about myself in this profession and doing it the way that I've had to do it. I think just that experience itself has gotten me here.
Self-awareness and work ethic is a pretty good combination. Those two kind of go hand in hand, right? If you know who you are and what you're good at and what your weaknesses are and what you can work at and be able to figure it out and then actually go and put in the work to continue to grow and get better at things, that's a pretty good combination for having success, whether you're a basketball coach or you're doing just about anything in your life. What was your favorite camp you worked when you were kind of starting out? Did you have a favorite?
So I did, and it's funny. So again, I'm in California. I'm at the University of Redlands in Southern California, but I'm driving out to the Midwest because Coach Wags got me into these camps. And so he was from Iowa, so his connections were Midwest. And my first camp ever was working Ball State camp. And, so the kind of goes full circle to Indiana. A guy, Mike, my good friend, Michael Wantz, who was a manager at Ball State at the time. Obviously we met during these couple summers of working camp. For him to come and watch this last weekend for me was awesome. Like we got into the business together. He was a manager at Ball State when I was finishing up at Redlands and just trying to get into the business. And so, I thought that was a lot of fun, to see him again, catch up with him. But, I love that. And then I went up and I worked Wisconsin's camps. And I think that those two, were awesome. That's where I met, my first time ever meeting Mike McGrath, who's was working camp, at Wisconsin when I was, and now we're playing against each other in the Elite Eight. I think that stories like that are pretty neat.
Yeah, that stuff is, again, the camp circuit is one of those things that I hope it never completely goes away. It's never probably going to return back to its heyday just because everybody wants to play games now. And I'm not sure how many kids want to go and do an old school camp. There are still some out there, but not as many certainly as there used to be. But yeah, the camp circuit, great way to be able to just network. And again, there's nothing better than basketball camp. I remember I worked at Ohio State's camp when I think the first year, I think Randy Ayers was the coach there when I worked it for the first time. I was like 19. I was playing in college and I went and worked it. I had gone to the camp when I was a kid and I went and I remember the last night of camp, like the coaches would go and meet like at the varsity club in Columbus and pizza and beer. And they made all the first time coaches, you had to stand up and tell a joke. And then all the veteran guys would go and tell their jokes. And I remember just sitting there and there was a kid who played at the University of Pennsylvania and he and I roomed together. And I remember he and I were just kind of sitting there going, like, can you believe that this is what was going on when we were at basketball camp and you'd come back and you'd be exhausted and in your dorm falling asleep as soon as you got back from your day of like 12 hours of basketball. And then the coaches are all heading out to the bar. So it was one of those eye-opening things for me. But yeah, there's nothing better than just the connections that you build through that special times with all the camps.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap up, final 2-part question. So part 1, obviously you just won the national championship, but when you look ahead, which we are all want to do regardless of what we've already accomplished, when you look ahead over the next year or two, what do you see as being the biggest challenge? And then the second part of the question is when you think about what you get to do every day, what brings you the most joy? So start with your biggest challenge and then circle back to your biggest joy.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is doing it again, right? And now there's no sneaking up on anybody. Everybody's going to be aware of who we are, which is, again, it's something that a goal of mine was, hey, let's put UMW on the map here. And I want people to know who we are and what we're about. Me personally, I am probably more of a behind the scenes guy. I'm not out in front, and I'm a loud guy. I like kind of just being part of the crowd as opposed to being the focal point of it. But so I'm glad that we're there and people are paying attention to what we've done. It's going, the hard part's going to be navigating the new way of college athletics too. I think that's, as much as I would like to think that Division III is immune to that, it's not. And there's going to be, for somebody like myself who's been doing it one way for this number of years, and even at Division III, it's going to be navigating through some of this stuff while trying to maintain the same standard and get back and repeat it. I mean, I on a personal note, had a real hunger to get back to this point, having lost this game in 2012. Now, having tasted victory, like, I think that hunger now might even be stronger to get back and do it again. Oh no, we can't not do this. So it's going to be taming that, staying the focus, and keeping our team under the same, holding them to that same standard, right? Let's be hungry to get back there, but understand the work that it's going to take to make it happen. And what was that second part? I'm sorry.
Second part was the biggest joy.
The biggest joy, working with these guys. I don't view it as work, really. I mean, I get to get up in the morning, I come in here, I get my run in, and then I get to coach basketball, which a lot of it is the relationship piece during the day. Whether it's with continue to build a relationship with the assistant coaches, helping them, in their profession, but also just being with our guys daily. And that's the worst part about the summer, when they go home and we don't get to see them. And again, this group was so much fun to be a part of. Even last year's season, it was a tough year until the very end, but it was a fun group, and I'm glad that was the group that we went through that with. So my biggest joy is just that. Whether we come back next year, which we will, obviously, as returning national champs, but even if we'd come up short, like, that's my why, right? There was a picture that somebody had taken and sent to us of the celebration of the guys rushing off the bench, and it was their faces that I just screenshot that and send it to about, 5 or 10 of my buddies, and we're like, this is why right here. Just every face in that picture, whether they, some of them still had their warm-ups on because they didn't get in that night, but the smile and the joy, like, yep, that's it. That's it right there. As they're storming the floor, like the looks on their faces, and that's the joy I get from it. And that picture here very soon is going to be blown up and put right here on my wall, because I think it was the best one of the weekend. I mean, for me, it was the best picture of the weekends.
Yeah, that's awesome when everybody who's involved feels that way, right? And that's not always easy to do. And when guys want to play, and there's all that challenge. So it's really well said. And there's probably nothing better that, as a coach, sums up what you hope your program is all about, the impact that you're having, that guy 1 who makes the game-winning basket and guys 16 or 17 that didn't play at all in that game, the emotion that they experienced at the end is the same. And that's really a testament to, again, what you've built in terms of your program and the relationships and all those things that go along with that. So again, congratulations on the national championship. Before we get out, I want to give you a chance to share. How can people connect with you, find out more about your program, share emails, social media, website, whatever you feel comfortable with? And then after you do that, I'll jump back in and wrap things up.
Yeah. I would say email. I would give my social. I'm not really good at that. I'm not sure I could tell you what my Twitter there's my X handle even is.
We'll find it. It'll be in the show notes. We'll find
yeah,
it.
Perfect. You can find me there. You can email me at mcon@umw.edu. I'm happy. Certainly if there's guys getting into the business or others that are in it and just want to connect. I'm always about that. I really enjoy that part of it. That's really, connect with me on social through email anytime.
Perfect. Marcus, cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of your schedule today to join us. Really appreciate it. Congratulations one more time on the Division III Men's Basketball National Championship. And to everyone out there, thanks for listening, and we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks. Your first impression is everything when applying for a new coaching job. A professional coaching portfolio is the tool that highlights your coaching achievements and philosophies, and most of all, helps separate you and your abilities from the other applicants. The Coaching Portfolio Guide is an instructional, membership-based website that helps you develop a personalized portfolio. Each section of the Portfolio Guide provides detailed instructions on how to organize your portfolio in a professional manner. The guide also provides sample documents for each section of your portfolio that you can copy, modify, and add to your personal portfolio. As a Hoopheads Pod listener, you can get your Coaching Portfolio Guide for just $25. Visit coachingportfolioguide.com/hoopheads to learn more.
Thanks for listening to the Hoopheads podcast, presented by Head Start Basketball.